Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Northside Women Podcast. My name is Ashlyn Murphy, and I am so excited that you are here today to hear this conversation between Linda Sharp and Rhonda Murphy. Rhonda Murphy is my mom, and so I'm especially excited about this episode, and I think you will really enjoy it. You'll hear conversations about Selah, rest, pausing, creating margin in our lives, as well as what to do when a new season of transition hits. We'll also discuss how to find margin and rest even in busy seasons or times of year like right now in the middle of December. So I hope you'll stick around and listen to this lovely conversation with Linda Sharp and Rhonda Murphy.
My name is Rhonda Murphy. My family and I have been at Northside for almost 5 years. It will be 5 years in January. My husband and I, Monty, have 3 kids, and we have 2 son-in-laws, and we've been married for 33 years.
I'm one of the kids.
Yes, you are.
Okay, my name is Linda Sharp, and Gail and I have been at Northside, I think about 17 or 18 years. We came after our kids were all grown, so they have not been a part of the church here, but we have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and Gail and I have been married. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary in April.
Oh, congratulations. That is so exciting. Well, thank y'all both for being on the podcast today. Today, we want to talk about or do a little bit of a recap of the Refresh Her retreat, the retreat that happened earlier in this fall. Would one of y'all like to explain or give a little bit of an overview of the retreat about maybe the theme or what the structure was like?
Well, the theme was Sabbath rest. We were going through a study by Priscilla Shire called Breathe, and just the idea of learning to Selah and rest and pause.
Mm-hmm. What did y'all think of the study? Did y'all enjoy it?
I did. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a whole different take on the Sabbath. You know, you think about the Sabbath as being a day, you know, and Priscilla took it more in the direction of the Sabbath being an attitude or a something that you incorporate into every day of taking time out to pause and to reflect and spend time with God and reflect not only in that time with Him, but how you can make time for the good things, the things that are purposeful in your life rather than being distracted by the things that just keep us busy.
Mm-hmm.
Something I really liked along that same line, she used the term putting margin in your life. And then I had written a quote that she had that margin is a powerful concept. It creates opportunities. For businesses, margin is one of your top priorities. Margin in business creates profits. Margin in family creates memories. I like that. Margin in our personal finances creates generosity. And then margin in our friendships creates significance and impact. And margin in our lives overall creates options. Options to pursue dreams, to think, to pray, relax, meditate, process, grow, and ultimately live life more fully. And just all good principles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that seemed to be kind of the main thing that y'all interacted with was that study. Did y'all have any other fun free time or activities throughout the weekend?
Yes, we did. In fact, Linda taught me a new card game. Something about feet. I can't remember the title of it now.
Hand and foot.
Hand and foot, yes. I had never even heard of that game before, and had a great time learning how to play that. And I don't think I particularly did very well, but we got through it, and we had a good time, and we laughed a lot, and that was fun. And then Cindy Browning brought games that had us doing absolutely ridiculous things, like singing opera about people around the room and doing some other things that probably
and dancing to that
and
opera.
dancing to the opera.
I think I saw a dancing video.
Dancing like a, can I say showgirl on the church
it might
podcast?
be, I don't know. We have to bleep that one
We
out.
have to bleep it out. But dancing like a showgirl to the opera that Cindy wrote about someone else at the table, while someone else had a box under their shirt. So I mean, there was some crazy stuff going on. It was crazy stuff. So, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was really neat because Tika and her team incorporated so many different people. Mm-hmm. And we have a refit class here at church, and she had the refit instructors offering that exercise dance program at different times. Ones who do crafts were allowed to bring their crafts, or I know there was some Mary Kay makeup sessions going on. So I love how she incorporated so many different people. And I did not participate in the crafts and all that because we were busy playing cards.
We were.
But I've talked to some who did, and they made new friendships because in that small group, they did those crafts together, and some are even going to meet again and do the painting and different things. And so that was just a real neat aspect. I love the idea of putting people in smaller groups and just having fun together and building those relationships.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the great things about events like these is that it creates new relationships that maybe wouldn't have formed otherwise, just because it's so easy at church to kind of have your path and you see the same people in your class or in the hallways. But events like these really help people connect with each other.
Another thing I really liked was, the facilities were great.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It was absolutely gorgeous there. I think we were probably there at peak color for the trees in the fall. Mm-hmm. And Linden Valley Baptist Conference Center, I think is the full name of it. We called it Camp Linden growing up. So there were several of us who had been there in the very distant past for GA camp or something like that. And they've done tons of renovations on it, built some new buildings. Some of it was just familiar enough that we all went, oh, yeah, I remember that. But then there were new things that, we just couldn't get over. I couldn't get over how nice the hotel was, and the worship center was beautiful. And so the setting to me was absolutely perfect, especially for the theme that we had, because we had, some free time opportunities. And I took the Saturday morning, I kind of walked around. There was a river that ran right beside the hotel, and you could walk, right by the river, and you're in the valley. So you're looking up at these, we look like mountains to me. I'm a flatlander, but, they look like mountains to me. They're probably not mountains, but they, really hills that had these gorgeous trees. And it was a nice, crisp fall, clear, sunny fall time, fall day that day. But it was just beautiful. And it gave you time that we just don't, or I just don't take here at home. And I remember thinking, I was walking, and I was kind of walking and praying at the same time. And I thought, Lord, this is just beautiful, and I kind of felt his response in my spirit of, it's beautiful where you are too. You just don't take the time to look. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of hit me pretty good too, right there. And because it's true. I mean, there are beautiful sunsets and beautiful things that we see every day that we get so busy, we just don't take notice of them. And I think that was one of the things that really stuck with me about that weekend too, was, you have to take the time to look at it. And the margins that you talked about, it to me, is that's pushing all of that other stuff that encroaches on what God has done in our lives, or what God is trying to do in our lives. And that kind of circles back to, to what we talked to you and I talked about a little bit about my
change of season.
My change of season and why I was struggling so much with this change of season that is going on in my life. I'll give a little background. My oldest daughter got married 3 years ago. Our lovely host here got married in June.
That's me.
Of this year. And both of them lived at home until the day they got married. And so they moved out when they got married, as we have raised them to do.
That is the goal.
That is the goal. And I'm very proud of them. I love their choices in husbands. I couldn't ask for better ones. And then my youngest is a senior in high school this year and is going to graduate from high school. I have homeschooled for the last 18 years. That has been very much a ministry and a calling to me. I feel very much that God called me to homeschool my kids. And so there is a deadline to this ministry, as it has been for the past 18 years. I almost didn't go on this retreat because I was in the middle of cleaning out, and I was kind of buried at that point and struggling with it because every item, and this is going to probably tell a lot about me, but in the attic up there are baby clothes in tubs that I've, not gotten rid of. Yes. I mean, this is what we're talking about. Baby clothes. So I'm going through all this and I was struggling. And I know that it is a empty nest that everybody goes through. But to me, it felt like it was more than that. And I don't know if that was me. At the time I thought, you're being ridiculous. Just do it and just get, And so I almost didn't go because I was in transition. And when you clean out like that, it gets much worse before it gets better. Yeah. And it was in the much worse stage. And so I just kind of left it and said, no, I'm going to go. I told Tika to go. I'm going to go. And so I went and I kind of had that moment of Selah, of pause. So I kind of got to the bottom of why some of it was so difficult for me. One of the reasons was it was a lack of faith that God had something more for me after that. And so during that time at the retreat, I just kind of took time to pray and say, help me understand why this is so hard, and he kind of just revealed to me, really, you need to trust me more. You just really, you need to trust me more.
And he does have a new season. And
he does. Yes.
It will be a real season with new things, new opportunities, new responsibilities, and new validation.
Right. Yeah. And so that's my big takeaway from that weekend was you're not trusting me enough. And I brought you through everything that you have been through. I will get you through the next however many, he graces me with trying to parent adult children, which is very different than parenting young children. Yes. Parenting married daughters is very different than parenting unmarried daughters and young daughters. Parenting an 18-year-old boy is much different than parenting a younger child. So I don't feel quite as confident in that, but at least now I know why I was feeling that way, And so that Selah time, that pause, getting away from everything that was going on in my life and just blocking off that time helped me to even realize that it was a lack of faith, lack of trust.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think so many people are going through transitions right now. And I think a lot of women are probably going through a transition similar to what you described, of just children getting older or just the family dynamics changing. And so I think it's good for people to hear, that is hard and it's okay to struggle with it, but to not end there, to know that the Lord does have you. Miss Linda, do you have any big takeaways from the weekend?
Well, first of all, I always love women's ministry. Been involved in it. Been involved in retreats many times. When the retreat came up, it was just like, oh, well, sure, I'm going. It's just, I like to go. And so, but what I really loved seeing at this retreat was when we went to meals. You went to this dining hall and you went and it was all laid out. And it, by the way, it was good.
It was delicious.
Yeah. It was really cooked, real food. So, but then there was all these tables and people, you could sit with different people. You didn't just go in and just stay in your one little 2 or 3 or 4 people group. And you just heard laughter and talking going on all the time. And I love seeing that with women. And there was nobody off to themselves. No. That's my big thing at church, is seeing anybody sitting by themselves. I want to go meet them and sit with them, but you didn't see that. And I think there were some friendships formed, even though they might not be close friends, but you really got to know people a little bit. And that's something I appreciate about a retreat, even more than just a one day or, couple of hour thing going on. That long time, even though a long time is what keeps some people away, because they think I don't want to leave home, or they can't leave home. But it does enable you to build some rapport and friendships, and the retreat was very good at it. We are blessed at Northside with Tika. She is very wise on managing and coming up with things for our ladies, and we need to take advantage of them, and her team, that they were all very active, very involved. A lot went on. There was a neat thing they did where everybody brought a cup, and it had told a little bit about you on this paper you put in the cup. And I got a cup for someone who I do know her, and so I've been able to pray for her more than I would have had it not been for the cup. But anyway, those were just some neat takeaways from the retreat.
So I'm understanding it. So everyone traded cups. If you have their cup in your cupboard, when you see it, you pray for that person.
Right.
That's the idea.
You just went and picked up a random cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so special. That's really sweet. Yeah, that is exactly, a great example of another way where it gets all the women there connected to each other, even if they didn't have a friendship before. I really think, and like we talked about before, events like these, they just bring people together. And so I really do think if someone is trying to get plugged in to the women's ministry, it really is just taking the time to show up to things like these. Because like you mentioned, like the longer events, it does require time investment, sometimes a little bit of a money investment to pay for the event or things like that. But it's so worth it.
Right. Well, I think there's just, if you want to feel like your church is a home for you, like, we talk about having a church home, you have to, as hard as it is at first for some people, you have to kind of put yourself out there. And the only way you're going to get to know people is some type of small group. Now, whether that be Connect group on a Sunday morning, a women's, get together through Refresher or through a weekend event or something like that. But that's the only way you can really have it feel like a church home to you, rather than just the church that you go to.
Right.
Because just like y'all said, just putting yourself out there a little bit is what gets it connected, which is really hard, but it's absolutely worth it. I just have a couple of more questions for y'all about the idea of Selah in general. But before we move on, is there anything about the retreat that you wanted to add before we move on?
Just to encourage people to really make the effort to come, and because you will be blessed by it. And if you are nervous to share like a motel room with someone, there was the option to have a room yourself. And we really weren't in our rooms any amount of time to speak of, but you won't feel alone if someone feels like, I don't know people well enough. That's your chance to get to know them.
Yep.
It's a blessing.
And I would just say again, thank you to Tika and her team, the Refresher team, for all that they did, because it was well organized, well put together. I felt like we had plenty to do, but I did not feel like we were crammed trying to get everything done. It was a very good balance of of organized time and time of fellowship and alone time if that's what you wanted. And it was just very well put together.
And they put us into small groups for some of the discussion after the Priscilla Shire. I mean, she's great, and we watched the videos from her. But when you get into a small group, it encourages everyone to participate that would not ever speak up and share anything in a larger group. So that was something really nice about the retreat.
So this year's women's ministry theme has been Selah, which is the idea of pausing, reflecting on what the Lord is telling you. We see it throughout Scripture where it'll say like Selah all throughout. And so we've been talking a lot about this theme of resting and pausing, Sabbathing, listening to the Lord. It is second week of December, and December is a really, really fun time, but it's a very busy time of year. And then as we go into December, we go into January, which starts the New Year's resolutions and getting back into it and setting new goals and, you know, all full steam ahead back into work or school or just normal life. Where does Selah come into that? What is Selah? What does that look like to Selah in this busy, busy season or busy time of the year?
I would say it's taking that time to pause and reflect on the Lord first, because in the busy time, we can neglect that relationship. And I know the retreat encouraged us for 14 minutes in the morning to spend that time with the Lord first. And we have done a lot of family traveling since then. And when we travel, it's that morning's routines are out. And routines can be good for scheduling that time, specific time with the Lord. But to try to, you know, Selah with the Lord. And then that Selah time allows us to be ready to build into relationships with others. Just, we're both people.
Right.
People.
Yes, we are.
A people person. And so we enjoy that time with people.
Yeah.
And it's important to have time with the Lord and then to build a relationship with our sisters, our Christian sisters.
Well, I think the great thing about this time of year, you know, yeah, we're busy and we have all these extra things that we don't normally do. But there are reminders of the Lord everywhere this time of year. You know, just even around your house. You know, most of us have a nativity scene set up around your house, or you see, you know, even stars on all the trees that when you're out somewhere, and you know the music that's playing in the background at the places when we go, if we go shop or you know whatever. So I think my prayer is, don't let me miss the reminders of you. You know. Keep my eyes and my ears and my heart open to God being everywhere around us, to, you know, to the fact that Jesus' birth is why everything this is happening this time of year. And so that's, you know, one of the things that I think will help me to Selah during this time is just the reminders of why are you doing what we're doing? Why are we wrapping these presents? Why are we having all these things? And it's because it's a celebration. It's a celebration of God's gift to us.
Thank you so much, both of y'all, for sharing and coming onto the podcast to just talk about the retreat and what you both got out of it. I was very much encouraged hearing it, and I think a lot of our ladies who were there, but also who were not able to come, would enjoy hearing this. I do have one more question for you both. So on each episode, we end with a fun, maybe lighthearted question. If you could be eating anything in the world right now, what would it be?
I think I would start with a nice ribeye steak, cooked medium rare, and some potatoes with it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But then I would go for somebody who would, a really, really good homemade banana pudding on top of that.
Great choice. Do you like hot banana pudding or cold banana pudding?
I usually have only had it cold, but hot's good too. I mean,
I make a
can't go
banana
wrong.
pudding.
That would mean it just
pudding.
got cooked.
That's right. Yes, a little bit warm.
Yes, that is a great choice. I love banana pudding and everything else you mentioned. Great choice. Great choice.
You know what sounds really good to me right now is it's a Philly cheesesteak. A really good steak,
and
chopped
all
up
the gooey
steak,
cheese.
and all the gooey cheese
Ooh,
on a
yeah.
really soft roll. That sounds really good to me right now. But if I could have any kind of dessert, my grandmother, she made something that she called Coca-Cola cake.
Oh,
And it's a chocolate cake.
I think I've had something
It goes
called
by
that.
different
Yeah.
names. I think some people call it Texas sheet cake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a chocolate cake, and the icing is really thick, like fudge. It's not like a regular icing. I mean, you can pick the top of it off and eat it. That with some ice cream, good vanilla
There we
ice
go.
cream, and then some hot fudge over the top, and then you got to add the whipped cream.
Okay, we can have my meal today, and I'll come and we'll have yours tomorrow.
Absolutely,
All right.
I am for that. I am for that, and we will fellowship, and we will say la together.
There we go.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget that Christmas is coming up soon and we have so much planned here at Northside. You can check out our website or any of our social medias to see what's going on. We have 3 services on Christmas Eve at 2 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6 p.m., as well as 1 Christmas service for all ages on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Thank you for listening and have a Merry Christmas.